I will never forget the day I found out that my girlfriend cheated on me. It was surreal, ranging from sadness to anger. We were a couple for almost 3 years, and I was completely in love with her. Thinking that she had cheated on me was something I just couldn't accept. It was a mutual friend who first brought suspicions to me. He had seen my girlfriend with another guy at a bar, and the way they were close seemed like more than just friendship. I was hesitant to believe my friend's words, but insecurity began to eat away at my mind. I decided to investigate on my own and started to notice some changes in her behavior. She was more distant and seemed nervous whenever I mentioned the bar or the name of the guy in question. I knew I needed concrete evidence before taking any action. That's when I started to come up with a plan. First, I started asking more direct and suggestive questions about what happened that night at the bar. She denied any romantic involvement, but her hesitation was evident. I knew I needed something more solid to confront her with. So, I had the idea of inviting her to a party that was being organized by mutual friends. The party was a perfect opportunity to test her true intentions. I knew the guy would be there, and my plan was to put her in a situation where she would have to publicly admit to cheating. The night of the party, I was nervous but determined to find out the truth. I watched her closely, paying attention to her actions and words. At the end of the night, when she was a little drunk, I confronted her publicly. I asked her directly if she had cheated on me with that guy from the bar. All eyes turned to us, and she looked surprised and scared. She hesitated for a moment, but finally admitted the betrayal in public, as tears streamed down her face. That confession was painful for both of us, but I felt a sense of relief mixed with anger. She tried to explain herself, but her words couldn't erase the pain I felt at that moment. From that day on, our relationship came to an end. It was a painful experience, but at least I got the truth and the opportunity to move on. Betrayal made me realize that I deserved someone better, someone I could trust completely. And ultimately, this experience made me stronger and more cautious in my future relationships. After the public confession, the atmosphere at the party became strange. Some friends tried to calm us down, but the tension was palpable. I was hurt and she was embarrassed. I decided to take a break and went to the balcony, trying to understand what to do next. My mind was full of questions and uncertainties. Why she did it? Was there something else I didn't know? Would it have been better to keep the betrayal a secret? And, above all, how do you move forward from that moment on? As I reflected on the porch, my friend who had initially warned me about the betrayal came over and tried to comfort me. He said that although the truth was painful, it was better to have discovered it early than to live in a relationship based on lies. I knew he was right, but that didn't make it any easier. The pain of betrayal was deep, and the uncertainty about the future complicated things even more. I decided not to make hasty decisions that night and left the loose ends in our story. That party became a turning point, not just in our relationship, but also in my life. I was about to embark on a journey of self-discovery and healing, and the destination was far from clear. What would happen between us from then on? Only time would tell. The pain I feel is deep, and the sense of betrayal and disappointment is overwhelming. It all started when I discovered that my wife, Maria, was cheating on me. It was a shock to me, something I could never imagine. I trusted her completely, and believed we had a solid relationship. When I confronted Maria about her infidelity, she didn't deny it. She confessed and apologized, claiming it was a terrible mistake and that she deeply regretted it. But what made the situation even more difficult to deal with was the fact that, days later, I discovered the truth about our children. After performing a DNA test, it became clear that they were not biologically mine. The news hit me like a punch in the stomach, and my mind was filled with a whirlwind of emotions. Right now, I'm in a dark and confusing place. I don't know if I will ever be able to forgive Maria for her betrayal, but what disturbs me most is the feeling that I have been deceived for years. The bonds I thought we had as a family were irrevocably broken. The children I believe to be mine are not, in fact, part of my blood. Many have told me that children can be raised with love regardless of biology, but it's hard to ignore the feeling of betrayal that plagues me. Now, I'm at a point where I don't even want to know about Maria's children. I feel like I have no responsibility for them since I'm not their biological father, and that's a wound that's hard to heal. It's a complicated and painful situation, and I'm trying to find a way to move forward, to heal my own emotional wounds. At the moment, I don't know what the future holds for me, but one thing is certain, this experience has profoundly changed my view of relationships and trust. Since I discovered the betrayal and the truth about my children's paternity, my life has changed drastically. The trust was broken, and the hurt continues to consume me. The feeling of having been deceived is overwhelming, and the thought of raising someone else's children is a burden I am not willing to bear. At first, I was devastated and confused, trying to understand how I got to this point. I spent sleepless nights, replaying our years together for signs I might have missed. Maria's betrayal made me question everything I believed about our relationship, and the discovery that the children were not mine brought to the surface a feeling of emptiness and injustice. At this point, I decided to move away from both Maria and the children. It's not a decision I made lightly, but I feel like I need time and space to heal my own emotional wounds. Maybe in the future I will be able to forgive Maria, but for now the pain is simply overwhelming. Living with this emotional burden has been a harrowing experience, and I feel it is time to share my story. A few years ago, I made the decision to enter into a serious relationship and eventually become a father. At the time, it seemed like the right choice, a step everyone hopes to take at some point in their lives. But now, with the weight of time and experience on my shoulders, I can't help but feel deeply dissatisfied with the path I've chosen. This entire journey started with the best of intentions. I was in love, dreaming of a future together and believing that parenthood would be the most rewarding thing in the world. However, reality proved to be much more challenging than I could have imagined. My life changed drastically. The daily routine is an endless succession of caring for my children and paying attention to my wife, interspersed with hours of work to support our family. I believe my biggest regret is that, at some point, I got lost in this whirlwind of responsibilities. The sense of freedom and opportunities to explore life that I used to enjoy simply disappeared. The time I used to spend on my own interests, hobbies, and friendships has been replaced by family commitments and household chores. I can't deny that I love my children and my wife, but this feeling of being overwhelmed and unsatisfied won't go away. Sometimes I find myself thinking about what could have been if I had made different choices. I dream of a life where I could travel, pursue my own goals, and explore the world without the restrictions of a family to care for. It's a constant struggle between wanting to fulfill my obligations as a father and husband and feeling like I'm missing out on the best parts of my life. The guilt for feeling this way is overwhelming, and I wonder if I'm being selfish or unfair. However, I can't ignore these feelings of regret and longing for a different life. Right now, I feel like I'm stuck in a never-ending cycle of obligations, and I don't see a clear way out. Family responsibilities are overwhelming, and I feel like the person I used to be is slowly being lost. I realize that most of the time and energy I used to devote to myself and my interests is now being channeled into caring for others. Meanwhile, my own aspirations and dreams seem to have been pushed aside, forgotten somewhere in the past. It's not that I don't love my wife and children, I do. They are an important part of my life, and I would do anything for them. However, I feel like I have become someone who lives for others, and this feeling is suffocating me. I'm yearning for a little time to myself, to rediscover my passions, my interests and, ultimately, who I am. Furthermore, my relationship with my wife has also been affected by this constant feeling of overload. The intimacy and emotional connection we used to share gave way to arguments about household chores, children's schedules, and financial concerns. I feel like we are growing apart, and that worries me deeply. At the same time, I'm afraid to admit these feelings to my wife because I don't want to hurt her. I don't want her to feel responsible for my dissatisfaction. But I also don't want to continue living a life that makes me feel like I'm wasting my time and opportunities. I am aware that being a father and husband is a role that many people find rewarding and meaningful. But for me, it's becoming a source of stress and frustration, and I'm struggling to find a balance between my responsibilities and my need to live life in a way that makes me feel truly fulfilled. Before I entered this relationship and became a father, I had a freedom that I miss now more than ever. I remember the days when I could wake up and decide what to do without considering the needs of anyone but myself. I could plan last-minute trips, hang out with friends whenever I wanted, and pursue my passions and interests without restrictions. There was a sense of uncomplicatedness in my life that now seems like a distant mirage. Not that I didn't have responsibilities back then, but they were much less overwhelming. I had the ability to explore the world, meet new people, try new things, and grow as an individual. I also deeply value the relationships I maintained during that time. My friendships were important and I cultivated them with enthusiasm. I had time to listen to and support my friends and to create meaningful connections with the people around me. All of this is needed. I never thought I'd miss the solitude of my single life, but there are times when the simplicity of having no one depending on me is almost tempting. Now, time is a scarce resource, and I feel like I'm always rushing to meet obligations while my own needs and desires take a backseat. However, it's important to note that I don't want to break up my relationship or abandon my children. I want to find a way to balance responsibility with freedom, personal satisfaction with family obligations. I want to find a way to be a present father and a loving husband, while at the same time not compromising who I am. The weight of these feelings and the internal struggles I have been facing are becoming more and more overwhelming. It's time to recognize that, alone, you may not be able to find a satisfactory solution to this situation. I think it's time to seek psychological help. I believe that by sharing these feelings and challenges with a mental health professional, I can begin to better understand the origin of these emotions and find strategies to deal with them. Perhaps, with time, I can learn to see this situation as a positive thing and find ways to balance my responsibilities with my desire for a more fulfilled life. Therapy can be an important step in helping me face this journey of self-discovery and find harmony between being a father, a husband and, above all, being myself. I know it won't be an easy process, but I'm willing to make the effort to find a solution that allows me to find joy in the life I've chosen. I hope that by seeking psychological help, I can finally begin to reconcile these feelings of regret with the obligations I have undertaken and eventually rediscover satisfaction in my life as a father and husband. Finally, I'm about to take a step I never thought I'd have the courage to take. Tomorrow, officially, I will end the relationship with my girlfriend. Sounds strange, right? Being happy with the end of a relationship. But the truth is that this relationship became toxic, suffocating, and I was trapped in it due to my emotional dependence. When we met, we were so young, and everything seemed magical. Love blinded us to the imperfections and differences that, over the years, became more and more apparent. I can't deny that there were wonderful moments, but overall, the relationship turned into something that consumed me emotionally. I became a hostage to her insecurities, constant fighting, and a feeling that I was never good enough. Anxiety took over me whenever we had an argument, and the feeling of imprisonment was unbearable. I found myself losing my own identity, moving away from friends and personal interests, all in the name of trying to make the relationship work. Emotional dependence was like a chain that held me captive, making me believe I couldn't live without it. But, little by little, I came to understand that, to be truly happy, I needed to take a courageous step towards my own emotional freedom. After all, it's not healthy to live someone else's life, especially when it's undermining your own happiness. Today, I feel immense relief for finally having the courage to make this decision. It's still scary to think about what's to come, the tears that will be shed and the words that will be spoken, but I know it's the right choice. Tomorrow, I will end this toxic relationship and begin the journey of rediscovering who I am and what I am capable of. True happiness starts with self-love, and I'm finally willing to embrace it. Looking back, I can clearly see the deep scars this toxic relationship left on me. Little by little, I lost my self-esteem and confidence in my own choices. I found myself constantly seeking her approval and validation instead of following my own dreams and goals. I missed professional and personal opportunities because I was always worried about keeping the peace at home. The fights were frequent and intense, and with each argument, I felt like I was walking on eggshells. The fear of triggering a crisis made me avoid conflict at all costs, even if it meant stifling my own needs and desires. My emotional well-being took a backseat, and unhappiness became a constant in my life. Furthermore, emotional manipulation was a constant presence. I was led to believe that I was the only one to blame for all the problems in the relationship, even when I knew that wasn't true. Facing all of this is a painful experience, but I am determined to start over. Starting tomorrow, I will begin to rebuild my life, restoring my self-esteem, reconnecting with the people who matter, and most importantly, learning to love and care for myself. It won't be an easy journey, but it's the only way to truly find the happiness and inner peace I long for. After the end, I intend to give myself the time necessary to heal the wounds and find my emotional balance again. I know this is not an easy transition, and the journey to fully recover will take some time. However, I am more determined than ever to face this challenge, in search of my own happiness and personal fulfillment. One of the most exciting aspects of this new chapter in my life is the opportunity to focus more on my career in advertising. For a long time, the toxic relationship consumed much of my energy and concentration, preventing me from dedicating myself to my work with the passion and dedication I knew I possessed. Now, with the freedom I'm about to gain, I'm eager to rediscover myself in the professional world. I want to pursue opportunities, learn, grow, and eventually reach my full potential as an advertiser. I'm excited about what the future holds, and I know that with the determination I'm gaining, I can achieve great things. Career. Life is too short to be stuck in relationships that aren't good for you, and I'm ready to live a more authentic and meaningful life. A while ago, I was in a relationship that seemed perfect. My ex-girlfriend and I were very close, we shared dreams, and we planned a future together. However, things changed suddenly and unexpectedly. She called me in for a serious talk and admitted something I could never have imagined: she had come out as a lesbian. It was a shocking revelation, and although I wanted to support her on her journey of self-discovery, it marked the end of our relationship. She explained that she needed to be true to herself and follow the path that made her happy, which I understood, but that didn't make the breakup any less painful. After the breakup, I tried to move on, like she was doing too. I started dating someone new, and life took its course. However, something surprising happened: my ex-girlfriend couldn't let go of the past. She started messaging me frequently, sometimes apologizing, other times saying she missed me. It was as if she still hadn't completely gotten over what we had shared. My friend started to warn me about something I couldn't believe at first: my ex-girlfriend was jealous of my current relationship. They told me that she was going through my social media and asking questions about my new girlfriend. It seemed like she was having a hard time accepting that I was moving on, even though she herself had taken a new path in her life. Facing this situation was challenging, as I wanted to be understanding with my ex, but I also needed to set boundaries to protect my current relationship. I had a heart-to-heart with her, explaining that it was important for us to move forward and that I wished her all the love and happiness on her journey as a lesbian woman. Even so, the messages continued, although less frequently. Sometimes love and confusion can mix, causing people to act in unexpected ways. In this case, my ex-girlfriend was having difficulty adapting to a new phase of her life and, at the same time, she was facing conflicting feelings towards me. I hope that, with time, she can find the peace and happiness she deserves, just like I am doing alongside my current girlfriend. As time went on, I realized that I wasn't being as strong as I wanted to be about my ex-girlfriend's messages. Despite wanting to be firm and keep the boundaries clear, I couldn't deny that I still felt a deep connection with her. After all, we shared many special moments during our relationship. Her messages were emotional, full of nostalgia, and made me remember all the happy moments we shared. Sometimes I found myself reading and rereading her messages, trying to understand what she was trying to express and, at the same time, fighting the temptation to respond. My current girlfriend noticed my internal agony and gave me the necessary support. She understood that the relationship I had with my ex-girlfriend was meaningful, but she also wanted me to be honest with myself and with her. It was a complicated moment in my life, as I was torn between memories of the past and the present that I was building with my new partner. I finally made the decision to have a frank and honest conversation with my ex-girlfriend. I explained that I deeply appreciated the time we spent together, but that it was important to move on. The temptation to give in to past feelings was strong, but I didn't want to harm my current relationship. This conversation was difficult for both of them, but she also needed closure to continue her own journey and leave the past behind. It was a moment of emotional maturity for both of us, where we accepted that although the connection was still there, it was time to move forward separately.